Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Anthony Howard. I am a strategic HR business partner with a company by the name of Dendreon Pharmaceuticals. My role there is I'm a strategic HR business partner, and I have been in a role similar to that over the last 7 to 10 years in the biotech industry. The purpose of today's session is that the life sciences sector has grown dramatically, and companies are having the same challenge, keeping up with the talent needs and requirements necessary for companies to sustain. And so the purpose of today's session is to talk about some innovative solutions that will allow you to be able to have a long-term sustainable workforce for companies and organizations in particular in this sector. So before getting into the meat of the discussion, I'm going to ask each panelist to take a moment to introduce themselves. Why don't we start off with Marilyn?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me today. My name is Marilyn James, and I serve as a strategic workforce specialist with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Prior to joining the CDC in 2018, I worked at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. I started my civil service career as an intern. With years of experience in human resources, workforce planning, and talent management. I'll give a brief overview about the CDC, just in case we have a few attendees on today's session that's not too familiar. But the CDC is led by Dr. Robert Redfield, CDC Director. We are headquartered in Atlanta. We have one main campus, Royville, which is kind of North Atlanta, I guess North Metro Atlanta. We have 5 other campuses throughout North Atlanta with 16 locations throughout the United States. The CDC employs currently or about 14,000, full-time personnel, contractors, fellows. We also have members of the U.S. Public Health Service, both in domestic and international locations. So the CDC has a strong presence both domestically and internationally. Our mission, it's pretty simple. For those that aren't familiar, the CDC is kind of or mostly known or highly recognized for protecting Americans. The CDC works 24/7, not only to protect America from health and safety threats, but we're also actively working to find solutions for many of the public health crises. As a public servant, I'm definitely passionate about public health, and I'm delighted to join today's session on engaging your workforce.
Thanks, Marilyn. Why don't we go to Irvin next?
Yes, good morning, everybody. My name is Irvin Clark. I am the Vice President for Economic Development at Georgia Piedmont Technical College. Georgia Piedmont is one of 22 technical colleges in the state of Georgia. We're under the Technical College System of Georgia. In my role as the Vice President for Economic Development, I work with our business and industry partners to help strengthen their workforce needs. The workforce pipeline, making sure that they have a workforce through the training that we do at Georgia Piedmont Technical College. Also work with the industrial development authorities in the counties that we serve, the work source boards, and we also work with the chambers of commerce and also state and local and federal authorities to help move different resources and opportunities to business and industry so they can strengthen their workforce. So I'm happy to be on this call today, and I look forward to providing information to the participants who are on this call. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And then last but not least, Jeff.
Hi, thanks so much. No, thanks so much. Again, first, thanks to the other panelists and for everyone attending for all of the important work you all are doing right now, especially as we're facing sort of this pandemic. So thank you to everyone. So I'm Jeffrey. I'm the founder of an organization called Parker Dewey. So while we are not a biotech company by any stretch, we are in the workforce space. So we have pioneered the concept of the micro internship. So micro internships are short-term paid professional projects that companies can engage college students, graduate students, or recent college graduates to execute on their behalf. And not only does this provide sort of a staff augmentation opportunity, but more importantly, it allows companies to identify, engage, assess, nurture potential candidates for full-time roles. So with the talent shortage that so many companies face, or the challenges with recruiting students who may not be considering roles at certain types of organizations or companies, or even be aware of those opportunities, or with everyone focusing on certain schools or universities, but not looking beyond the focus schools, these micro internships provide a great way for companies to, again, expand access to their talent pool and continue to drive better hiring results. So again, real honor to be here today.
Thanks, Jeffrey. As you all can see, we have a very experienced panel to really talk again about some methods that are that may be looked at as non-traditional, but really the focus is how do we prepare our future workforce. So there are three techniques or three methods that we're going to really dive more into during this discussion. And it's mainly in general around our young people and young adults to interest them to come into this field and allow us as employers to be able to evaluate fit. So the three methods that we're going to talk about more in detail is the internship or the micro internship, as Jeff stated, the fellowship, and the apprenticeship. So we're going to start off with Marilyn. Her specialty is around the fellowships. So Marilyn, if you could tell us more about fellowships, what it's about, how it works, and then really the focus of the type of demographic that addressed or that works best for those that might come into the CDC on a fellowship.
Yeah, so fellowships are definitely great pipelines for early career professionals. A lot of our fellowships we have are geared at various levels. So let me first start off by saying this: the CDC has hundreds of internships and fellowships opportunity. We have opportunities that are non-FTE, which doesn't require for a hiring manager or supervisor to have a full-time FTE slot. And then we have those that do require that. We have summer opportunities, summer internships, and then we have some various high-level fellowships. So let me just focus a little bit and kind of hone in, because if I go into sharing all of our opportunities, I'll probably take up more than the panel time is allotted today. So totally, the CDC has a variety of fellowships. And I'll focus a little bit about some of the top ones. These are mostly for fellowship opportunities at bachelor's degree to postdoc. Our fellowships are definitely open to US citizens and non-US citizens that are eligible for like J1 or H1B visas. They can certainly apply, but they'll need to obtain that prior to the start of the program. There are no age restrictions, so that gives a lot of flexibility for employers. And we definitely have incentives in terms of benefits. So they are eligible to get, healthcare benefits and contribute to 401ks and so forth. So I'll focus a little bit on some of our top or most highly utilized fellowships. First, I want to talk about the EIS program. It's the Epidemic Intelligence Service. So a little bit about this program. It's one of our, for those that aren't familiar, it's a world premiere program for us. It's been around for quite some time. So the program kind of trains what we call them as our disease detectives. It's the only applied epidemiology training program of its kind and provides experiential learning and serves as a natural conduit for bridging future generations of public health responders and advisors. Once they get into the program, they become what we call them EIS officers. So EIS officers, they respond to health threats like anthrax, SARS, H1N1, Ebola, Zika, now COVID. We even respond to some hurricane relief efforts. So they're pretty active and engaged in public health crisis and efforts, and they conduct a lot of epi research. They do a lot of evaluating of surveillance systems, conduct infectious disease modeling. Data analytics is a must for mostly all of our scientific opportunities. Risk communications, and they do a lot of collaboration with state and local health departments as well. On average, we tend to open up a lot of these fellowship opportunities during mid-spring. So like in April timeframe, you'll find a lot of these fellowships open up so that students can start their opportunity, give or take, around July timeframe. So that's
Marilyn,
one of
the roles themselves. You stated that they're full-time and that they could qualify for benefits. What's
Yes.
usually the time duration for someone that's in a fellowship?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
The time duration. How long are they normally in a fellowship?
Oh, yeah, so it varies. This particular fellowship, like the EIS fellowship, that goes to 2 years. Most of our
Okay.
highly regarded fellowships are 1 to 2 year opportunities.
And can you detail for us what the difference is between an internship and a fellowship?
So most of our fellowships are mostly for master level to postdoc candidates. And our internship opportunities are mostly designed for bachelor degree candidates or candidates that's currently enrolled in school seeking to get or earn their degree.
Yeah, we use interns, but it's really entry level, right?
Yeah, totally. We have a program that's specifically designed for CDC. There's no other program like it at any other federal agency. It's called the PHAP program, the Public Health Associates program. And it's one of our most popular entry level straight out of undergrad school. It's designed to kind of build that continuous source of public health candidates, so to speak. So we constantly have a pipeline to pull from. This particular program, all majors can apply. So that's the great thing. You don't need to have a major in public health to kind of apply. It is paid, and it's more paid at the entry level that you're talking about, more on a experiential learning developmental stage type paid salary, and they do have benefits. It's also a 2-year opportunity. So we have a wide selection that we'd love to kind of share more and talk more about.
Awesome. Well, we did share some more information about some of the opportunities. We shared it in the chat. Please feel free, anybody, to click on that. Thank you, Marilyn, for giving us that overview of a fellowship. Next to Irving, The topic that we've asked him to come to talk to us about is apprenticeships. Can you tell us more about how that works and also the age and education levels that's addressed with that particular method?
Yeah, apprenticeships, which have been around for over 50 years, are a resource that a number of our employers in our service area and throughout Georgia are utilizing to help build their workforce. And what the concept is centers around is you have an employee, it can be an incumbent worker, or it can be someone that an employer will hire from outside, and they come in and they will learn on the job. We call it OJT, and they also will learn the technical skills or those types of skills that they need to learn at a college. So that learn type of framework is utilized to, one, get that apprentice the information they need from the college side for the technical skills that are needed for that job, but also to learn on the job in terms of the practical, different types of practical applications that need to be learned in that job environment. And an example is in manufacturing. Our college is very fortunate that we're going to be starting a apprenticeship program actually on November 30th. It's a Mechatronics apprenticeship program. Oh, and this program allows for an apprentice to be able to take classes at Georgia Piedmont. They're going to be taking classes, about 1,000 hours of classes total. And they're also going to be learning on the job over a 3-year period. They're going to pick up industry recognized credentials while they're in this apprenticeship program. They're going to have a mentor that's assigned to them from the employer. That employer actually identifies that mentor. And the college, the employer, and the apprentice are all working together. And the great thing about it is that the employer will grow that employee throughout that apprenticeship period. And that growth can also be documented through milestones of pay increases, or other milestones which are built into the apprenticeship program that particular apprentice has to demonstrate competencies through the on-the-job training and also the technical education. And so it's a good way to be able to grow that employee into that particular company, to be able to allow them to understand the inner workings of that company from the on-the-job training, but also to get that related technical instruction that they're getting at the college to be able to be successful. The great thing about our apprenticeship program is that the industries led the development of the program. And that's one of the other things about apprenticeship programs, is that industry can actually develop these programs and make it customized so that it fits and aligns with the needs of the industry. And so I really am encouraging people, whether you have someone who is 18 years old, 16 years old, or 47 years old, an apprentice has no limitations in terms of age. And it's always good to think about having this opportunity with apprenticeships, if you do explore that, to be able to grow your workforce or to upskill your workforce, to move individuals into that pipeline of where you have that workforce need.
That's awesome. There's definitely a lot of advantages with that. Thank you for sharing that, Irvin, with us. And then Jeffrey is our expert on the micro internship. Tell us about how that works and who's the target audience for, who would be ideal for a micro internship.
Yeah, no, thank you, Anthony. And to be clear, micro internships don't replace apprenticeships or internships or co-ops or full-time hires or any of the other wonderful programs that have been discussed by Marilyn and Irvin. Rather, micro internships serve as pipelines or pathways to a lot of these programs. And the best way I could describe it was actually what one of the college students sort of highlighted to me. They said, we're being asked to jump into the marriage of a full-time role or the engagement of an internship or apprenticeship or co-op. He said, what I like most about micro internships is they're like dating. And I pushed back. I said, well, isn't sort of the job interview and the informational process the date? And his comment was, no, that's like swiping right or left. And look, I've been married for 20 something years. So this is all beyond me, but it was really this great metaphor. Because what micro internships do, as I alluded to before, is they allow companies to get this immediate support on projects that they have on their plate. So think about all of those tasks that you have on your own plates for all of the people here. And it doesn't need to be necessarily those technical projects, but for the HR professionals, how great would it be to have someone being able to go through and review your job descriptions? Or how wonderful would it be to have Marilyn, to have someone go and interview former participants in your program, or Erwin, some of the apprentices, and write a blog article. Again, these are important projects and tasks, but are they the best use of time for you guys? Or are they the best use of time for your current employees? Well, what we did is we created a way for companies to engage these highly motivated college students on these projects. The other thing that's important to note, especially in the more technical fields like biotech, there's all of these roles out there that are outside of the technology ones. Again, the HR, the marketing, the finance, the strategy, and there's millions of college students who may not be considering those roles. These micro internships become a great way to introduce your organizations to those students, to those learners, whether they're currently in college or whether they've recently graduated. And that's pretty much how it works. Again, we've built the platform to make it simple. So when you're offering micro internships, unlike some of the other programs, the students or recent graduates are not your employees. They're not your interns. They're not your contractors. They're actually employees of Parker Dewey, which makes it really, really easy. So you're not dealing with 1099s or W-2s or benefits. And again, this is not like Uber where we're trying to skirt the rules, but rather we're trying to provide this easy way for you and college students or recent grads to get to know one another. The other important thing to know is that when these students turn into your summer interns or your apprentices or your full-time hires, there's no other fees or costs. So it's not like a staffing firm where you have to go pay someone a bunch of money if you want to make a hire. Again, as a mission-driven organization, we're very focused on helping use these micro internships to create the pathways.
Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely you know, a new concept as it relates to it, but very beneficial if used appropriately by companies. So, you know, with this, I think that one of the things is that we need to make sure that, you know, these programs are successful, that they're translating themselves into actual opportunities for people who are, you know, using these methods for exposure in companies. So, you know, what are some of the, what are the hiring stats for, you know, hey, after they get this experience that, you know, they land an offer letter. So I'll work backwards. So let's start off with you, Jeffrey. You know, what do you have any data around the success of individuals who go through a micro internship?
Yeah, we do, and it's something I'm super proud of. So first of all, at the individual micro internship level, over 98% of them are successful, meaning the companies, when they evaluate the micro intern after these short projects, they have exceeded expectations. And again, these short projects, these are tasks that would take you 5, 10, 20, 30 hours to complete on your own, and they're due a couple of days to a couple of weeks out. So these aren't things that you're posting for next summer. These are tasks that you or your colleagues have on your plate now and you want to get done. So we have north of a 98% success rate on the projects. But where I get really excited is some of the stats on the student side. So first of all, over 80% of the students selected for the micro internships come from underrepresented backgrounds. So while we have plenty of students who go to the academically prestigious school and have 3.9 GPAs in majors that sound like job titles, one of the things I love is this levels the playing field. It provides opportunities for students who may not go to the fancy school or may be working full-time while they're in college, so their GPA may not be as high. This provides ways of accessing them and providing equitable pathways. Again, is demonstrated by the fact that over 80% of the students who complete the projects come from these underrepresented populations. The other stats that we look at are 96% of the students who complete micro internships are professionally employed upon graduation. And at first I was a little bummed out about the other 4%, but when I looked at the stats overall, that 47% of recent college grads are under or unemployed, and that was pre-COVID, I actually felt really good. So we're seeing the right outcomes for the students. And then last, for the companies, what we found is over 97% of the micro interns stay at the company upon once they're hired. And with 55% of recent college grads leaving their first job in the first year and 70% leaving within the first 2 years, we feel really good about it. So from a company's perspective, this is letting you access a broader pool of talent. It's letting you enhance your diversity. It's letting you find the right people, people who have those core skills, the grit, communication, problem solving, and helping you retain them because you're making the right hiring decision. And all of this while helping your existing employees be more productive.
Awesome. You know, as a HR professional, if I'm interviewing somebody, you know, that's entry level, if I have somebody with a resume with just a bachelor's degree and someone with a bachelor's degree with experience, you know, I think there will be a higher consideration towards, you know, that second resume.
And what I love about that point you brought up is the experience allows you as a hiring manager to do two things. One, it allows you to understand the real skills of an individual, because again, we've all met people that have high GPAs, but when we hire them, it's just not the right fit, or their communication or attention to detail is not there. So this actually lets the students demonstrate those skills. But the other thing it does is it provides you with as a hiring manager with the context that for students who work on not just one micro internship, but 5, 10, 20 of these throughout their academic career, the student sort of is interviewing with you eyes wide open. They can tell you and experience why you're the right fit for them, which is why we see that much, much higher retention rate versus the average.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jeff, for that. Sure. And then Irvin, what's the success rate there? Were any stats around people that go through that program, the apprenticeships, that, you know, the stats that they stay with the company or find relevant gainful employment after it's over?
Yeah, and that's a great question. You know, one of the great things about apprenticeships is that they're set up where they can be anywhere from 1 year to 5 years in length. And as I shared earlier, the apprentices are actually employees of that company. And so they are actually working at that company under a mentor, growing in that particular environment, and also taking classes. And so we're seeing rates of about anywhere from 90 to 95% retention rate for individuals who actually start and finish an apprenticeship program. And because apprentices who go through these programs, whether they be high school students, which we have a program at our college that supports high school students that go through apprenticeship programs, or adults, because they are vested in that company is making a commitment to that particular apprentice, and that apprentice is making a commitment to that company. And so when you're thinking about trying to introduce people into the workforce, into a particular industry, and here in our service area, we have biomanufacturing with companies like Takeda. We have a lot of other manufacturing partners that are looking to strengthen their workforce right now. And so apprentices is a really good opportunity to kind of introduce individuals into those types of manufacturing entities, and understand that, look, there are great careers, great jobs. You can also earn and learn. You can go to school. You can move up incrementally as you're moving through. The company has a vested interest in you. And we're seeing that percentage in the 90 to 95%, where individuals who do graduate from the program and complete it, earn the credentials, they are staying on those in those roles and are growing. And also too, I have to mention, these employers are looking for these individuals to stay for 10, 15 years when they finish out. And so apprentices really provide that framework that I believe allows for employers to be able to engage prospective employees and also current employees who want to grow in that company, and again, meet that workforce need that that company has for the skills that they're looking to try to achieve.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Marilyn, so when someone coming into a fellowship and they complete their fellowship, what are generally the outcomes of that? Do you track where they go? Do they stay with the CDC? You know, what are some of the hiring stats around individuals who come into fellowships?
Yeah, definitely. So we know off the bat that fellowships are great mechanisms for future leaders, right? So it does give you that pipeline, and they're already trained, and they come in with a skill sets that the agency already needs to kind of build their workforce. So we know it works. That's a clear given. But we talk about fellowships. The CDC has several, like I mentioned before, but I definitely think we have a high turnover rate in terms of how many stay on with the CDC, or definitely how many continue on with the public health workforce. So we talked about the I mentioned earlier the EIS program. With this particular fellowship, about 85% of our EIS graduates upon completion continue on with the public health workforce. That could be either with local health departments, or they continue on and find opportunities with any other, maybe some tribal organizations or any kind of affiliate organizations, but definitely still in that public health realm. And about 73% go on to accept positions with the CDC. So that's still a large pipeline of candidates that we can pull from. And the great thing about fellowships is that you can go from one fellowship to the next. So if you see, if you come in at an entry-level fellowship and then you see another one posted, you could go from one to the next and definitely continue on. So fellowships are definitely a great mechanism. We know that. When I mentioned earlier the PHAP program, the Public Health Associates program, for this particular program, we have on average about 72% of associates accept jobs in the public health realm. And a large majority go on, about, give or take, about another 25% accept jobs at the CDC. And you have about another 20% that decide, because you mentioned this program is for undergraduates coming straight out of undergraduate school. So about 20% go on to just, get their master's degree or further their education. So you see there's still growth, because even though they've come into the program and some stay on with the CDC, some decide to still further their education and still join the workforce at a later time. So we definitely have a large percent of fellows that go on to be leaders in public health, and many are through our fellowship programs, and we know it's successful. And that's one reason why we try to not only share information with industry leaders or different federal agencies across the board, because we definitely know that this is a key mechanism for maintaining permanent careers, not only at the CDC, but keeping them in the federal government. So.
Thank you for sharing that. So in general with this, I mean, all of these methods have a very high level of success. And, they help and prepare our future workforce by going through, one or more of these methods. So the next question I have for all of you is, as you just think about setting up a program like this, if I'm a company that want to set up any of these things at my organization, what's a piece of advice that you would tell us as it relates to setting it up, and also maybe give us one thing to be aware of that could be a potential challenge with setting up that program. Why don't we start with you, Marilyn, first?
Yeah, so certainly a piece of advice is that we tend to see interns and fellows succeed in a more structured environment, right? So you want to be sure that you include processes that kind of outline the project clearly. Jeffrey gave a great description of some of the elements that they incorporate. Maybe consider developing an employer guidebook that kind of details, you know, the ins and outs, the nuances of the program, how it works, what forms are required, hyperlinks to the forms. Consider also maybe creating a student work plan that kind of outlines various competencies, any assigned tasks and deliverables to kind of help the student manage their performance. Essentially, you want to ensure that you're covering all aspects, the whole shebang, orchestrate it all. You know, don't think that this is not something that's not going to be needed. It will be. And you know, you will run into obstacles. I mean, for us, one great challenge is that, you know, a lot of our opportunities, even though they're paid, the assignments are non-negotiable, you know, so it's kind of hard for, and there's no flexibility with that. And it's kind of hard sometimes, you know, even though it's paid for you to kind of leave your family and uproot. But we definitely find this as a challenge, but, you know, young professionals are eager to kind of boost and get their career started. So you will see success in the programs regardless.
Awesome. Thanks, Marilyn.
Okay.
Urban, what about for you? What advice you give us?
Yeah, I would say, I think one, you have to have a critical coalition at the organization, and that consists of champions who understand the workforce need and can be gathered to be able to help respond to that. And I think second, if you have a local technical college near you, partner with us. You know, one of the great things about being in TCSG institution is that we are actually under the state of Georgia. And so we have a lot of resources. In addition to that, we sponsor individuals through apprenticeship programs. And so being able to work with the local technical college to be able to help with that related technical instruction, and also assist with the process for getting an apprenticeship program started, which includes a lot of paperwork. And the apprenticeship programs that we work with are United States Department of Labor registered apprenticeship programs. And because employers have the ability to customize those programs, working with someone from the local technical college can help to really fine tune what that particular program will look like. And the third thing I would say is to really be innovative in terms of the populations that you want to serve. You can have people in apprenticeship programs as young as 15, 16 years old, and we have that at the college. And then we have people who are older than that. And so I think that the organization has to really take a look and say, you know, where do we want to go in terms of this apprenticeship program, in terms of what that instruction looks like, on-the-job training, who we want to recruit for the program, and working with those experts to be able to make sure that that program aligns with the workforce needs that your particular company has. And also just have the understanding that, you know, things may not move the way that you want to the first time around, but that's okay. That's what innovation is about. But you're just taking those steps and working with those key partners like myself or others around the state to be able to provide those resources to ensure that you're successful, because apprenticeships really do work. And I think that when a company does engage in apprenticeships and they can get that particular apprentice that's walking through that apprenticeship over a 1 year or 3 year period, and they're learning on the job and they're taking that technical instruction, they are becoming invested in that organization, and that company is really receiving the benefits of that and that employee. And I think that's just a great thing, because we want to make sure that that workforce stays strong, and also equally making sure that people understand that the careers that are out there can be achieved if they engage in those careers.
I think you brought up an excellent point as it relates to the level of, flexibility and patience that is needed as it relates to this, because I think we in the life sciences sector, we tend to be perfectionists. Like it's, hey, we don't have any room for error. So, that can be an approach as it relates to bringing in young professionals who this is the first time, or someone who's not familiar with our space, that we have to follow the procedures as listed. So definitely one thing for success with that. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, Irvin definitely mentioned a key point is that collaboration and partnership, with your local community that kind of helps to foster and grow, these internships, fellowships, and micro opportunities. So.
Yeah, and I just have to say too that I think a part of retaining and recruiting that workforce, and all of the different strategies that my colleagues on this call are talking about, I think it's a very innovative way to kind of get people involved in these particular industries, and because employers are really the ones who we look to, at least at my college, to say, this is what we want. My job is to make sure that I give you the resources you need to customize that apprenticeship program to fit the needs of your company. And I really want to emphasize that, because that's what the goal of apprenticeships are. It's really to get that particular 16-year-old or 47-year-old to say, you know what, I want to grow and I want to learn and I want to do it. And the mentor piece is equally as important, because that mentor is working with that apprentice, and they are, I guess, coaching them, if you want to call it, through those years that they're there, with the intention that when they finish that apprenticeship program, they are fully skilled at the level that the company wants. It's customized to their specific need, and they can meet that workforce need, and hopefully, start the cycle again with an additional apprentice or apprentices that they want to have in that company.
Well, it's nice to know I still have one more year until I can be an apprentice. Yeah, so first of all, what I love about this conversation is that none of these ideas, whether it's fellowship, apprenticeship, internship, micro internship, none of them are mutually exclusive. They're all complementary, and they all fit in different ways for different purposes. The one thing I would push back on a little bit, though, Irvin, is the building the collaboration within a company. I think it is wonderful if you can do that. I think it's wonderful, again, full stop. But one of the things that we see is oftentimes HR leaders have challenges building that collaboration. They have challenges, as much as the HR leader recognizes you need to look beyond, again, the 3 nines from certain schools. As much as they want to introduce these programs, oftentimes they face hiring managers that have these preconceived notions or aren't willing to necessarily make that investment. They don't want someone shadowing them, as they may perceive it right or wrong for the coming year or the coming month or the coming summer. One of the things that we suggest, and one of the reasons I'm a believer in this micro internship concept that we pioneered, is that if they're positioned to hiring managers as a perk, as a benefit, it changes the conversation. So one thing we're seeing a lot of right now is HR leaders are going to their employee resource groups, for instance, or they're going to specific departments. They're going to the marketing department, and they're saying, hey, marketing professional, do you have a task on your plate that is not the highest and best use of time? Without a doubt, that professional will say, yes, great. I have a college student who can help you write that article, who can help you do that research, who can help you create the social media calendar. Hiring managers say yes, because we're changing the conversation. Instead of it being, I'm asking you, hiring manager, to do me a solid, to help me sort of bring in someone or launch a new program, we're focusing on this immediate need that a hiring manager has. We're seeing it a ton with the ERGs right now. So one of the companies we work with in the medical device space went to the ERG, and the ERG was for, I think it was called the Black in MedTech, was the name of the ERG within their company. They went to this group and said, we're going to allocate $10,000 to you. And it's not to pay for t-shirts, it's not to host events. We want you to spend that $10,000 and engage 25 college students on projects for you. And it was positioned as a perk to the ERG, because here's a way to give opportunities or to get opportunities to get support from highly motivated college students. But there was also a way to create mentoring.
You've mentioned ERG a few times. Can you?
Sorry, employee
expand?
Resource Group. The employee resource group. So again, these are small groups within companies, again, built upon certain certain personas or certain backgrounds to really drive diversity, equity, and inclusion. And anyway, in this case, one of the things they found was the ERG appreciated the opportunity to get the support. But what they also did is they loved the fact that the members of the ERG were going to individuals from similar backgrounds that they had, whether it was for members of the HBCUs or coming up through the community colleges or people who were first gen. And it was building these authentic connections, which were driving this great diversity and inclusion and this great pipeline of candidates of individuals that may not have considered roles in med tech. Not that I'm passionate about this or anything.
Well, you know, and I'm glad it was a good segue because I did want to provide a perspective from an HR view on these things. So, number one, yes, all of these methods are definitely complementary of one another, but we also have to think about, you know, what that business need is. For example, at Dendrion Pharmaceuticals, we have a manufacturing arm, and we're based in an area of the city in which our talent pipeline is, you know, very tight. It's very difficult. We've had to go back and revisit our hiring profile. And then also, you know, these are positions that take a very long time. We have to invest a lot of time and effort to get them trained up to prepare for the role. So they're not doing projects and those type of things, you know, those short-term things that a micro internship would be ideal for. We're investing a minimum of 3 months into them to be able to go into an aseptic room and produce a product that's going to go in somebody's body, right? So, you know, in the considerations of things, when we think about the role and what the end result is, that could also determine the technique or the method that you know, you may use. So
one thing, just to cut you off for 1 second, 100% agree, and that's a real investment the organization's making on that training, on that onboarding. Part of our belief is that let's make sure these investments, whether it's in fellowships or the training or the apprenticeships, don't get wasted with individuals that may not be the right fit. Let's make sure there's a fit before we commit to these longer term. So sorry to cut you. It's a really, really good point, because companies are willing to invest in the training, but we need to make sure we're training the quote unquote right people, which is difficult.
So want to stay on, yes,
5%
definitely.
turnover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I agree, and I think the good thing about apprenticeships is that, again, when a company creates this customized apprenticeship program, they are obviously going to vet that particular person who they want to bring on. And I think a part of it too is there's a partnership, at least for Georgia Piedmont, we have a partnership with the employers because we have a responsibility to help them recruit people into these apprenticeship programs, and also making the public aware of careers in biomanufacturing and other areas that they can understand, hey, this is a career that you can get into. It's not the traditional type of manufacturing that was going on in the 70s and the 60s. This is very different now. And so I think that there's a shared responsibility for us, because it just can't be on the employer. It's also on the college to help recruit. And then I think when that does come to play, I think that when we do bring that potential apprentice to that employer, I think that there's a much better focus in terms of, okay, this could be a person that does have that fit, and that apprenticeship over that time frame of 1 year to 3 years gives that particular person a chance to learn on the job, because it is an investment with the employer, the apprentice, and all the other partners that are happening. But I have to emphasize, it is a shared responsibility. It cannot be solely on the employer to just recruit and find. I have to help these employers help the public know that there are jobs, and these are great careers, not just jobs, careers. And you can be an apprentice, and you can learn, and you can, you know,
grow.
do what you need to do. So,
yeah. Well, all of this is, you know, again, all complementary, and these are experimental ways, opportunities that we can prepare our future workforce for opportunities, because finding talent is not getting any easier.
No.
I want to thank Marilyn, Jeffrey, and Irving for volunteering their time to share these methods with us. And we hope that with the information presented, that you can implement one or more of these as you are evaluating your talent management challenges and finding the best person for the role at your organization. Thanks so much for your time, everyone. And please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions, further questions about the topics that we've discussed today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.